Hey YouTube, how's everybody doing today? So in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how you can make a deep house or EDM style bass using only stock plugins in Ableton. So let's get right into it. First things first, I'm going to drag a kick in just so that we can keep time here. Let's go with this one. Definitely not pre-selected. Okay, and then I'm just going to drag this out. I've got a quarter bar selected here. I'm going to hold Control and J to consolidate. If you're on a Mac, my friends, you'll be doing Command J. Super fun. Okay, and then again, Control J. I just used Control D while clicking on those clips to duplicate them quickly. Some really fun shortcuts to remember. And then what we're going to do here is I'm going to go into instruments and I'm going to put an operator into this MIDI clip. So now I'm going to go into the routing of the operator, which is down here, and I'm going to set it to series instead of parallel because we don't want FM synthesis. And I'm going to turn all these oscillators off. I'm just going to leave A on here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 4 bars. We got a 4-bar thing going here. Go into the piano roll, pop down to C, which is the key of our kick. And we got a sine wave playing right now. I'm just going to program in a little bass pattern. Let's go with this for now, for the sake of simplicity and for the length of this tutorial. Control D, duplicate, and Control J. Join everything together. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the oscillator here, which generates the actual sound, and I'm going to change the waveform to, let's say, a saw, okay? So now we'll have something that sounds like this. Definitely not so great. I'm going to drag an EQ in here so we can see what's going on the frequency spectrum. So pretty rich. There's a lot of harmonics, and you can see that right down in here is where the fundamental frequency is, which is close to the bass range. So we have like a bit of a sub a fundamental going on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the filter section here, and I'm going to modify it. So I'm going to bring the filter frequency down so that some of those high harmonics aren't present anymore. And this is pretty extreme because now we're getting down into basically just sub territory again. So what I will do is in the envelope section here of the filter, I am going to change the decay time. So basically I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to tell operator to apply right now 100% to the envelope, 100% to the filter, sorry, this envelope to the filter. So what I'm telling it is I'm making the computer basically snap the filter frequency down from max range to wherever I set it in the amount of time that I've set for the decay. So you get kind of like a clicky percussive sound. And that's a bit extreme, so let's bring the envelope down a little and the peak as well, because we're telling it to start way at the top of the frequency, way at the top of the filter frequency cutoff here. We can bring the resonance down a little bit too. So when we do that, if I go into the filter here, you can see when I boost the resonance, there's a boost within the range here. So as this is as the filter is sweeping down, there's a whole bunch of different frequencies that are accentuated. And if you turn it up a lot, it'll sound kind of lasery. So kind of like side trancey, a bit weird. We're not going for that. So. And I'm going to make sure, yeah, that's good to go. So we got the phase retrigger on. So basically what this does is every time the synthesizer plays a note, it restarts at the start or wherever we set it based off of this particular value here. So we want consistency within our bass line, right? So we want to make sure that it's playing for this bass that we're designing, not always, playing at the start basically of the waveform every single time so that you get consistent tones and you're not losing any low end. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the decay on this oscillator too. I'm going to bring it down so that it's not playing for such a long period of time, right? I'm going to change it to be a lot shorter and pluckier too. And we're going to obviously bring the sustain down because the sustain tells the oscillator how how loud to stay for how long, or at what level rather. So once I increase the decay a little bit, you get that plucky sound back, but it doesn't, the tail doesn't ring out for as long. But if you turn the sustain up, you lose that pluck. So let's keep messing with some of these settings here. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. So that peak makes it a little darker. Let's go with something like this for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on Oscillator B and I'm going to change it to noise white. And I'm going to bring the level up and blend it in a little bit. And this will give it more kind of an analog sound. And it's very subtle. So I'm going to turn the filter frequency up so that you can hear it a lot more. So it just adds a little bit of weight. Then I'm going to go into the pitch envelope and I'm going to make it a little pitchier, and I'm going to basically make it come down from the like higher up in the frequency spectrum down towards its fundamental frequency, and this will give it even more punch. So this knob here tells the computer how much to actually apply this pitch envelope to the sound. And then again, you got your envelope here where you can mess with where the peak starts. This is an octave above, 12 semitones. So it would be the C2, I believe, and then it would slide down to the C1, and you can mess with all these settings until you find something that sounds decent. So it's exaggerated. If you're doing bass design for another sound, you could try turning this all the way down and having it sweep up after a longer attack or something like this. And then you'd obviously have to change the sustain here. You're getting into some kind of weird sounds here. So there's a lot of different options, but anyways, let's go back to the more basic plucky bass that we're designing. Okay, then what we can do is we can apply, we could either change, let's change the filter type here and do a little bit of drive. So I've got this to something that's more analog sounding. Okay, that's sounding kind of cool. And then let's turn a shaper on and see what happens. So depending on how, there's a dry wet here, which we can change, which is cool. So you can blend it in a little bit. Just put it in really subtly like this. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. What we can do now is let's put in some more saturation just to kind of blend things together. Let's go with an analog clip and drive it a bit. Turn the soft clipping on, and I'm going to turn the output down as I drive it. And we can check the peaks here to see where we are at level-wise. So that's pretty cool. It's given it more of an analog texture, kind of. I turned this soft clip off. It just sounded better without it. Okay. Yeah, and then you could do a whole bunch of other stuff, like if you wanted to. Let's see. I think I got, yeah, you know what? I got a bit crusher here. Let's put a little bit of bit crusher on this and see what it sounds like in the top end. So this is mixed in at 100%. I've just got a send set up here for this bit crusher, and I basically EQ'd all the lows out because I just want to get a little more crunch out of the top end. So I'm going to bring this right down and see if we can find something that sounds kind of cool. And then let's EQ some of the top harshness out. And then let's bring it back a lot. So it's just a little subtle thing. And then if we wanted to, we could also put, let's go here, right click, insert return. And let's go into delay, put a delay on here, stock delay. Turn this up to 100% because we're sending the delay. And let's focus in on some of the highs here, higher, well, the mids and highs, and keep the lows out of it so that we don't muddy things up. And I'm just going to throw in an EQ8 to see where we are at in terms of our frequency content as well. Roll off some of the lows, and let's blend a little bit of this in too, just for fun. So there we go. right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do after the fact here to kind of make your sound a bit more interesting. The design itself is pretty straightforward. The rhythm, a lot of people will apply groove after the fact. What I like to do sometimes is I'll just record it in with like a MIDI keyboard, and then I'll quantize, I don't know, to 80% or something like this, and then fix up any weird notes. And that way you retain a little bit, of like a human groove, right? Human element to it. And you can compress these types of sounds if they're very dynamic too, especially with bass noises. You want to make sure that they're not poking around too much in like an electronic mix. But anyways, I hope you guys learned something. If there are any questions that you have or comments, please let me know and I will try to address them. Thanks.